They refused to let her fly the Apache until the colonel saw the tattoo on her trachea. "You're grounded, Lieutenant." "That's final." The colonel's voice was still, his glare unyielding. Lieutenant Cavos stood rigid in the hangar, the roar of Apache helicopters vibrating through her bones, her fists clenched, not in anger, but in desperation. She had trained for this moment her entire life. And now one man's prejudice would keep her out of the sky. Then his eyes flickered downward to the tattoo on her trachea. His breath hitched. But what was it about that tattoo? Hours earlier, Carrera had been prepping for her first combat flight until the colonel stormed in, barking orders to pull her from the mission. No explanation. No appeal, just the cold, hard truth. Women don't belong in the cockpit. But fate had other plans. Cavos wasn't just any pilot. She was the daughter of a fallen Apache legend, raised on air-base grit and the ghost of her father's legacy. Every scar, every drop of sweat had been for this, proving she was more than just a name, more than just a woman in a man's war. But the Army had a long memory, and old biases ran deep. The order came down at 0600. Lieutenant Voss is reassigned to ground ops. No warning, no reason given. Kara stormed into the colonel's office, demanding answers. "With all due respect, sir, why?" His answer was a knife to the gut. "Because I don't trust a woman to keep her head under fire." Carrera refused to back down. She fought paperwork, regulations, even the whispers in the messal. But the colonel's word was law. Until the day of the emergency deployment, a recon team was pinned down. They needed air support now, and Kara was the only pilot left. The colonel blocked the cockpit. "Not you." Then he saw it. The tattoo. The colonel's eyes locked onto the tattoo. A small, intricate B with a single word beneath it. "Rise." Recognition flashed across his face. That symbol. That word. Years ago, in the scorching sands of Iraq, his unit had been ambushed. Trapped and outnumbered, he'd been ready to call it until a grizzled Apache pilot radioed in. "You don't quit, son. You rise." That pilot, Captain Elias Voss, Carrera's father. And the B, his old call sign, Stinger. The colonel's voice was barely a whisper. "Stinger's daughter." Kara didn't flinch. Does that change anything? For a heartbeat, the world stood still. The radios crackled, urgent, desperate. Men were dying, and the colonel had a choice. Hold on to his pride or honor the man who once saved him. He stepped aside. "Go bring them home." Carrera didn't hesitate. She strapped in, fired up the Apache, and roared into the sky. Not as a woman fighting for respect, not as a legacy living in her father's shadow, but as Stinger reborn. The extraction was flawless. The recon team debriefed with grins, slapping Carrera's back like she'd always been one of them. Back at base, the colonel found her by the hangar. No apology, just a nod and a single word. "Rise." Carrera smirked, touching the bee on her throat. Some lessons were written in ink, others were earned in the sky. If this story touched you, hit that like button and drop a comments below.